Rick and Morty, want Season 9? Here's how you can start drawing it. While we're definitely looking forward to the upcoming anime-themed series, it's still a bit of a bitter pill to swallow that we won't be getting any new Rick and Morty on our screens until 2025. Granted, most of that comes from being desperately impatient to know what the writers have up their sleeves next after what was arguably the best season of the Emmy Award-winning series yet. During a recent update, we reported from an interview we had with the show's creative team that they were already moving ahead on Season 9 and now, Adult Swim is giving fans a chance to pitch in and help with the artwork. Okay, not really, but what Cartoon Network's late-night programming block did do was share some looks at style guide points to keep in mind when you're considering drawing the pair. Here's a look at 7 guidelines to remember when you're drawing Rick and Morty for Rick and Morty, though we have a strange feeling that there might be legal issues in play if they just started soliciting artwork from the fans. That said, these are some very cool pointers for artists out there looking to show the dimension-hopping duo some creative love. Rick and Morty, Season 8, More Evil Morty, Mr. Poopy Butthole Theory. If you appreciated how Seasons 6 and 7 were able to maintain a proper balance between canon mythology episodes and those standalone, classic Rick and Morty adventures, then you'll like what's in store for Season 8. There's obviously been a lot of shakeups and transitions that have happened that are luckily coinciding with some of these canonical storylines being resolved. If I could set a framework for fans of the show, it's the old characters and all these things, but it's like, this is an opportunity for a rebirth, series co-creator Dan Harmon explained during an interview with Variety in late February. I mean, the kind of canonical things like searching for Rick Prime, these are things that come out of the ether, and then they acquire this gravity, and then they become a canonical serialized story. I think people should expect more random embers shooting off of that fire and turning into organically gigantic serialized things of their own. But with Harmon being a fan of the standalone adventures, viewers shouldn't be expecting them to be going anywhere anytime soon. I will always target the episodic personally. Because, your job is to fight gravity. And gravity is serialization. That's what happens organically. Gravity is a great thing. But you're supposed to want to fly. Showrunner Scott Marder reaffirmed that the 8th season will be looking to strike the episodic balance that the previous 2 seasons achieved. 8 will have a lot of similar flow and vibes to 6 and 7, which is like a cool balance of silly and one-up canonical stuff. That's the stuff I want as a fan. And that's the stuff that Harmon and I work on all jammed together. I'm really proud of these last couple of seasons. They're sort of the perfect blend of what I look for as a fan, he added. Could that include the return of Evil Morty at some point? Most definitely, in case anyone thought his ominous warning before departing our dimension with one serious ultimate weapon, Unmortricken, would be the last that we would hear from him. We can expect to see him in the future. We certainly have plans and grand designs with him, for sure, Marder shared, though not confirming that his return would happen during the 8th season. And then there's Mr. Poopy Butthole question. Like us, a lot of folks are getting a feeling that Poopy Butthole's overarching storyline is leading him to becoming a major big bad for our heroes. Shit, well, now we can't do that, or he can sue us, right? Good job, Internet, you blew it again, Harmon joked during the interview when presented with the theory. No, in all seriousness, I do love that guy, the person who posted the theory online, so much. I want to encourage those kinds of theories. I love that stuff. I love him, particularly the amount of energy he puts into that stuff, the series co-creator added. While Marder found the theory interesting, he also shared that was not their plan for him, adding that, I always love what fans take and run with in any show. Rick and Morty, Season 7, unapologetically audacious. With an underwhelming premiere episode, Season 7 of Rick and Morty was off to a rocky start. However, the season quickly hit its stride, delivering endearingly classic shenanigans with darkly cynical social commentary peppered throughout. As a welcome bonus, while the show usually paces out canonical episodes to a trickle, this season held nothing back. Season 6 of finale teased the tantalizing prospect of Rick Ian Cardone and Morty Harry Belden tracking down Rick Prime, also Cardone, the version of Rick from an alternate dimension who killed Rick's wife and daughter and ultimately set him on the path to becoming the man he is today. The previous season ends with one of Rick's trademark drunken, raving rants, where he declares that he and Morty, revealed to actually be Prime's grandson, will find Prime together, in Rick and Morty, Season 7, Hunting My Nemesis. However, Season 7 initially ignores that declaration in favor of a much more important storyline. While the premiere is mediocre, the next episode is a highlight of the season. With one of the funniest cold opens of the show, the Jarek trap quickly redeems any faults the premiere had. Rick swaps his mind with that of his less intelligent son-in-law, Jerry. Naturally, the stunt backfires and their minds mix, resulting in the characters retaining aspects of both personalities. While their relationship is normally prickly and antagonistic, there are oddly wholesome moments and sweetly touching insights as to what these two really think of each other. In hindsight, it's a clear signal of what's to come. The interactions between characters and their psychological intricacies are front and center for Season 7. In one notable episode, That's a Mort, a horrified Morty struggles to defend his moral structure when he finds out that the spaghetti that Rick has been feeding them is produced from the bodies of humans that commit suicide. Morty's fundamental dichotomy of not wanting to end up like his grandfather but simultaneously chasing his approval is spotlighted. In Air Force Wong, Rick's ex, Unity Christina Hendricks, and his therapist, Dr. Wong, Susan Sarandon, converse. It's a dull interaction overall and seems strangely keen on painting Rick as wrong for choosing to ignore Unity after their disastrous breakup for the sake of his mental health. Despite its numerous faults, the episode successfully portrays Rick's slow but visible progress that he has made while trying to better himself through therapy and results in a relatively grounded storyline compared to some of the other chaotic episodes. Finally, halfway through the season, in episode 5, viewers finally see Prime again. The episode, Unmortricken, presents viewers with revelation after revelation about Rick and Prime's dynamic and the history of the portal gun. The episode culminates in Prime, a victim of his own ego and carefree nature, practically being delivered to Rick on a silver platter by the mysterious evil Morty, who reappears for the first time since Season 5 for some inexplicable, somewhat contrived reason. Whereupon, only 5 episodes into the season, Rick beats Prime to death. There's a wasted opportunity here, especially in a season that's so dedicated to fleshing out each and every character. With evil Morty playing such an incomprehensibly large role in Prime's downfall, Morty is relegated to the smallest of side characters. The potential interactions between him, Rick, his adoptive grandfather, and Prime, his biological grandfather, evaporate. Prime's death also limits the chance to fully understand the events that led to his drastic choices, not only to blow up Rick's family to smithereens but also his decision to go back and erase his wife from every dimension across infinity and then trying to erase every other member of Rick's family on top of that. Many questions about his motivation and his past with Rick remain unanswered or appear to be brushed off entirely. In order to continue Rick's development, the past is just as important to explore as the present. Prime's death makes this exploration difficult but not impossible, and future seasons will hopefully achieve it. The scene of Prime's death itself is beautifully done, in a heartbreaking sort of way. There really is no satisfaction for the audience, no sweet sense of karmic retribution or that good old-fashioned schadenfreude. It's brutal, it's gory. Even for a show that doesn't shy away from violence, the scene is almost over the top with its vicious punches, Prime's pained cries, and how drawn out and intimate they make the entire scene. There is no triumphant fanfare. Rick, a scientist with an arsenal of tech, uses nothing but his bare fists to kill a version of himself that has brought him so much pain and yet simultaneously has given him a reason to live for the past several decades. The voice acting in this scene is remarkable. Cardoni delivers a laudable performance as both characters. Prime screams about how Rick stole his family, his grandson, and his house, ooze bitter rage in stark contrast to Rick's dark, grim tone. And at the end of it all, Rick is left with an empty, uncertain feeling that mirrors the audience's, one of nothing at all. Has he won? All the progress he's made seems to visibly unravel with Prime's death, and he's quickly back to guzzling alcohol by the next episode. Rick's development, which has been so prominent throughout the season, has abruptly halted. The season concludes with Fear Number Mort, another psychologically beautiful and conceptually experimental episode. If Prime's death was a temporary end to Rick's character arc, the finale was that for Morty. Taking place almost completely in Morty's mind, the episode ultimately reveals that his deepest fear is being abandoned by Rick. In the end, Morty accepts the idea of being replaceable and gives up trying to be anything more. It's made all the more upsetting because the audience sees Rick has made significant progress, he's more affectionate, more vulnerable, less hostile. And yet, Morty isn't privy to the same knowledge, or just can't see it. Just like Rick, his development, at least for now, grinds to a stop. The episode is a bittersweet finale to an emotional gut punch of a season. Despite the weaker episodes and some risky choices regarding Rick's arc that will influence the show going forward, Season 7 of Rick and Morty nevertheless successfully balances a mixture of humor, action, and emotional complexity. Almost every character is given the screen time, exposure, and development necessary for their individual arcs. The animation is fluid, with character expressions that are fun to watch and are reminiscent of the entertainingly dynamic facial movements from Season 1. The voice acting is spot on, the old cast brings their reliable talents, and newcomers Belden and especially Cardoni grow into their roles with fantastic results. Season 7 signals very good things to come from Season 8. In the meantime, perhaps the upcoming anime will tide one over.